I got a $4.99 super chat, I guess. So he says, thank you. So basically his question was asking about when should a man pull away from a woman? Because I've done plenty of videos talking about why women pull away from men, right? And so his question is, what are some reasons that men should pull away from women? The honest answer is there's plenty of red flags that women will show that will indicate that you as a guy should not be there. But the biggie ones are basically any kind of sign she's showing where she's not indicating that she wants to actually engage with you. It's most guys will do this thing where like a woman is starting to show those signs, and then as the guy, we're holding on to hope that we can make this thing happen. So she starts texting less, calling less. We ask her out on dates and she's saying no to them. Obviously at that point, she's pulling away, but a lot of guys at that point in time have a hard time then pulling away also. And so in those situations, you got to recognize it for what it is and recognize that either A, you're not being patient enough, or B, that she just has low interest and you got to get out. Now, let's say the woman is highly interested. This is when you get into, okay, just because she's highly interested, does that mean that you actually stick around and try to date her? And there are plenty of signs out there that women will also show. A big one that I find is this. If a woman is getting jealous anytime you mention going to hang out with other people, big red flag. Another big red flag, if in particular, if every time you're not around her, she starts to ask questions via text or whatever, saying, well, are you cheating on me? Are you around other women? What's going on? Then those are indicators that she has some major issues in her past to get over, and you can't be the one to help her solve that. Real talk. And I've talked about this on the show before, but I had a woman, this Armenian woman I dated years ago, who to be fair to her, on our first date, she said she didn't want to hook up early on. I said, okay, cool, whatever. Cause I'm always like, if you ain't got to hook up, we ain't got to do that, right? Second date comes around. I take her back to my place after a night out. We watch a movie on the couch, yada, yada, yada. She doesn't want to do stuff. I'm like, stuff doesn't have to happen. I'm not pushing an agenda. And by the end of the night, we do some stuff. It is what it was. So on our third date, she starts talking about how she's been abused in the past and how every guy prior to me that she's dated, she's been abused by, she's been cheated on, all this other stuff. And I'm thinking at the time, superhero syndrome. Oh, I'm going to show her that I'm different, and I'm going to show her that I'm not like those other guys, right? But what I learned from the situation is that just because a woman tells you these bad things happen to me doesn't mean that she wasn't the catalyst for some of that stuff. So there was a moment in time. This is just the dating phase. We've been on 3 dates. My best guy friend had a birthday party, and he was going to have a party on a boat where he invited me and some other friends to just go out to Long Beach and get on a boat for a part of the day and just hang out for like 3 hours or whatever, right? And so I told her, I was like, hey, I'm going to be going on this party with my friend, yada, yada, yada. And she says to me, okay, well, just make sure you don't touch any other women's butts while you're on that boat. Ha, ha, ha. I was like, that wasn't even in my thought process. And I was like, at the time, even though I was we weren't couple, but we were just dating. I was like, I didn't even have that thought in my head that I'm going to go on this boat and try to hit up other women. Wasn't in my head, but I was just like, okay, whatever. So I go on the party, have a good time. Next day I see her. She's like, oh, tell me about the party. He's like, yeah, I had a good time on the boat, 3 hours. Just got to ride out, have some good food, yada, yada, yada. And she's like, okay, great. Oh, did you touch any butts while you were out there? Big red flag. So at that point, I'm already like, okay, this is already kind of going haywire. She's getting already kind of antsy and jealous. And to be fair, this is just the dating phase. We're not coupled up. I could technically still see other people to try to get a better gauge of who I want it to be within the end. But that's not how she dated. And that's totally fine. But the point is, the big thing came when there was a day where, long story short, the apartment I was living in near Santa Monica in Western California, which if you guys know about California, which I didn't know at the time, that's where the MS-13 gang is. And they got a lot of people out there doing crimes and stuff. Well, my apartment one day got robbed by a meth head. He came in while I was at work, and he took my clothes and some of my random stuff and then ran with it. But the problem was he lived in the same building. So when I got back, the landlady at the time, who's one of my friends, said, yeah, this guy came in and he's barricaded in his room. We called the cops. They had to really ram his door open and tase him so that way they could get him out of the room and I could go in there and identify my stuff. Well, because of that little happy incident, I had to go to court to be a witness to this guy that he stole my stuff. And I told this girl that I was dating, hey, just so you know, I'm going to court tomorrow and I'll be there for all day. So I'll hit you up when I get out of court. It's going to be a long, long day. Right? Well, when you go to court, one of the things that they tell you in court is when you're sitting in court, you can't have your phone on. So I had my phone off. for like the first part of the morning. Oh, by the way, the end of that story is we ended up going to the wrong courtroom all day. So me and my landlord friend had to go back another day. Only this time I didn't have to go. But anyway, but there was a 12:30 break for lunch. So at the lunch break, I turned my phone on so I can just check my emails and see who else called me or whatever like that. And I got like 13 messages on my phone, like voice messages. And I'm listening, and it's this woman. And she's like, hey, how you doing, Harry? Let me know if you're okay. I want to talk to you. Another message. Hey, why don't you pick up the phone? It's me. Come please pick up. Next message. Hey, why can't I reach you? What's going on? Is everything okay? Are you cheating on me? What's happening? Next message. She's crying now. Hey, just if you're like with somebody else right now, just let me know because I just really need to know. So at that point, I had a choice to make. Do I try to continue to date this woman and try to prove to her that I'm not like all the other guys in her past? Or do I say, this woman has some serious work to do and I got to pull the heck away because I can't handle all this? And so I literally texted her back and I said, hey, I told you I was going to be in court today. My phone was off because they wouldn't allow us to have them on. I don't think this is going to work out. I got to go. We're done. And after that, she tried to call me a few more times and say, oh my God, I'm so sorry, yada, yada, yada. But I was like, that's too much of an upfront example of you have too many problems for me to fix. And I'm not going to try to be Superman. I'm not going to try to fix them for you. It's not my job to fix you. It's your job to figure out why you have all these hangups. It's your job to figure out why you keep dating these men that are horrible choices. And I can't be the one to do that. So when women are upfront, show these kind of things where like they're overly jealous or they seemingly possessive or they're needy or they do some of the stuff that guys do where they're texting all the time, calling all the time, nonstop, not giving you your space. You might be at home trying to have an alone time day and they try to sneak by your place to see if you're there or knock on your door or whatever like that. Like those are really like the anxious insecurity signs. And somebody actually wrote in the comments they want me to do a show about the various attachment styles. I'm trying to get somebody on the show that I can actually talk to about that's a doctor so they can really further talk about like the various attachment styles and how they affect the way we date. But yeah, women showing stuff like that. If women are telling you stuff about their past and their family life that indicates that they had a rough family life, whether it's like their dad abused them, their mom abused them, or they themselves like got into drugs and alcohol, it's not that they're bad people, but these are major things that are going to influence the way that she views the world and the way that she views men. And oftentimes women will have negative viewpoints about you as a man based on, again, stuff that happened in her past that has nothing to do with you. And no matter how much you're there trying to convince her that you're not going to be that guy or that you're different or whatever, the reality is if she hasn't done the work on herself, her view of the world is already such that she's going to assume bad things. And that's going to leave her constantly questioning you, questioning your motives, questioning why you're out, questioning why you're being such a nice guy to her. Like those are the situations where in the long run, it's better to pull away early on before you get in it too long than to lead it on. Because what's going to happen is if you don't, you'll get into it like a year. And then it's going to be harder for you to be able to emotionally pull away from that person because as a guy, once we put all this effort, energy, time, and money into a person, it's very, very hard. Like I've done some breakups with people that I've dated for like a year or 2 years where I put a lot of energy and effort in. And I was just like, at the end of the day, as much as I want to be with this person, I can just see where this is going to go. And it's just not worth it. All right. So this is why as a guy, you have to have your glasses on of the world at all times and really be able to get outside the feelings of, yeah, that you find them hot, you find them like you physically want to hook up with them and really see about, okay, but can they actually be a good person long-term or do they partner with me well? I will say this also, like a big thing, the big ones, religion, politics, and also how you view male and female dynamics. Because I will tell you, to be honest, like the season of Kevin Samuels, who was here, a lot of couples broke up because women were not understanding that the way he was talking about how men think was a reality. And so I think some women haven't actually done the homework on the way men think, the way they act, why they come to decisions the way they do. And those are not women you want to be with long-term because no matter how much you try to explain your point of view, they're always going to see it as like, that shouldn't be a thing. You should think more like a woman. You should be more emotional about stuff. And those are women you're going to be fighting with all the time. So if honestly, the biggest gauge you could say is like, hey, have you heard of Kevin Samuels? What do you think of his stuff? And if she fights you or just says you're being misogynistic, get out. Just get out. So hopefully those are some things that can help you with that particular question. All right.
Tonight's your night to shine. I'm taking you out to have